So we are so excited you are here to join us today. The Healthy Minds event is an event that's going to really help you focus on self-care as well as self-empowerment. So that's what these workshops today are all about. A couple of just housekeeping items. Keep everything respectful, please. Oh, thank you. There we go.
There you go.
You got me. We're right on the same wave page. So yes, please turn your camera on. We want to make sure we feel connected and forget we're actually in a virtual place. This year has definitely been very virtual for all of us. So, let's interact with some faces, and the more that we can do that, the more that we can really get the engagement going in this event. Keep your mics off. As far as I know, I do not think you have the ability to turn on your mics, but if you do, please don't try it. Please just keep them off and ask all your questions in the chat. There will be parts throughout the presentation where we'll be answering questions, and I will make sure to ask the questions. My name is Jen. I'm going to be the moderator, and I'm going to be the one in the chat. Also have a notepad handy for practice activities. This is totally interactive. This is a great way to really learn some very, very valuable information. As you listen to our presenter today, be thinking about how this topic can help you to build healthy habits for success. Make sure that you reflect on what you experienced here today and how this connects to your real world. And remember that once you join a session, your attendance is going to be tracked, so please try to stay in one place. And afterwards, you will all have the ability to add all the sessions after, so that you can go in and maybe go look at events that you may not have been able to sign up for. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over. I'll be hanging out in the chat, so make sure to ask some questions.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get back to the title page. So today's presentation is called Master Your Job Interview and Get That Job. And I decided to add in parentheses, no matter what your path is. So like I wrote in the description of today's workshop, it's a realistic game of life. Game of Life is a pretty fun board game. I actually play it a lot with my 10-year-old cousin, and I think it relates to being in that stage in your life where you're in high school, you have to make decisions for your future, but you really don't know what path it is you want to take, right? So let me just read the picture right here. You have two options in this game. You either start with the college or you start with the career. So the start college, it says your mom calls to ask how you expect to get a job once you have a degree. And then if you take that path, you might want to start thinking about student loans and financial situations. And then if you start with the career, your mom might call and ask, how do you expect to get a job without a degree? You might panic. You might start creating a LinkedIn or an Indeed. And it says here, you might have to pay $100 in membership fees to online job sites. So whether you choose the college route or going straight to the workforce, the ultimate goal is to maximize your lifetime income potential. So that's what the game of life is all about. In the end, the player who has the most money is the one who wins, regardless of what path it is that they chose. And lifetime income potential, by that I mean how much money you make throughout your life. Work is about the money that you make to support the lifestyle that you want and need. But when you start off thinking about careers, you might think it's all about the money, right? But once you grow older and start having to make life choices, you realize work becomes not only about the money when you have sufficient income to support your chosen lifestyle. So you might be deciding on your living destination. You might be deciding, when do you want to have children or start a family? You might be deciding, do you want to rent or buy a home or get a lease on a car or buy a car cash, right? Another decision is, when can you afford to retire when you're older? So your lifetime income potential depends on your beliefs, your attitudes, your values, your career choices, and the path you choose to make that happen. So as you see here, I'm a career specialist at My Turn Inc. And as a career specialist for youth, I work with youth between the ages of 16 and 24. My ultimate goal is to lessen the time between learning and earning, while also removing potential barriers that set youth back on their path to economic stability. So like Jen mentioned at the beginning, have a notepad handy for practice. There will be a practice activity at the very end. Like Jen said, reflection is a big part of success, and thinking back to past situations and decisions that you've made to be able to go forward in life. So today we will cover today's labor market, Generation Gen Z, career choices and education options, career cards, interview preparation, and lastly, the practice activity will cover answering behavioral-based questions using the STAR method. So I saw some of you said you need coffee, but some of you said you're ready. I'm pretty amped up, so let's get started. Now, in the game of life, one of the first steps you do is you choose your player. So let's talk about the players in today's labor market. For the first time in history, there are 5 generation groups in their workforce, and they are traditionalists, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Gen Z. A generation is a group of people born around the same time and raised around the same place. People within this birth cohort exhibit similar characteristics, preferences, and values over their lifetimes, and they experience life events around the same time and might have a similar outlook to life. So what this information is useful for managers and HR executives so that they can develop strategies on how to effectively reach out to specific age groups for marketing, recruitment, orientation, talent management, retention, and strategic planning. It's important to keep in mind that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to these generational cohorts, and be very aware of negative stereotypes and prejudice within the workplace. Once you leave high school, or even now if you're working part-time or have some type of job, you'll notice that you begin to work with people that are in different age groups as your own. And sometimes there are clashes, and you see that others might have an outlook on your generation that you feel like might be true or might not be true. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about Gen Z and the workplace. These are some of the research and info that's out there right now on Gen Z. And Gen Zers are born between 2001 and 2020. Some of the main ideas about Gen Z is that they are global, entrepreneurial, progressive. And like I said, sometimes there are negative ideas about generations. So one of those for Gen Z is that they're less focused. May or may not be true, but that's the general consensus. Maybe from the older generations, that's what they might think about Gen Z. Some of the life occurrences that have shaped Gen Z is life after 9/11, the Great Recession, access to technology from a young age. They say that Gen Zers are motivated by diversity, personalization, individuality, and creativity, that they prefer to communicate via instant message, text, or social media. And the worldview on Gen Z is that self-identify as digital device addicts. They value independence and individuality. They prefer to work with millennial managers. They are innovative co-workers, and they do like change and new technologies. So someone who is planning to employ a Gen Zer, like I said, maybe a manager or an HR person, they should offer opportunities for Gen Zers to work on multiple projects at the same time, provide work-life balance, and allow them to be self-directed and independent. And then a study that was made, they found that 40% of Gen Zers who want to interact with their boss on a daily basis or several times each day. And then 84% of Gen Zers who expect their employer to provide formal training. If you go on the Whova app, and there are some poll questions, one of them, I asked about the Gen Z characteristics and which of those do you identify with? What I found online is that Gen Zers are financially focused. They have an entrepreneurial mindset. They enjoy technology. They enjoy other people. Although they do like being on social media and texting, they found that Gen Zers do enjoy having one-on-one conversations, especially via FaceTime or video chat. Gen Zers are competitive, they welcome change, prefer independence, and overall they want to be heard. So now let's talk about occupational employment projections. Every 10 years or so, researchers and people that work with analytics they use the information to predict the future of occupational employments. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, these projections have been impacted and new data is being collected to determine the current status and the future of the labor force. So these are some projections that I found from 2014 and 2013 from the Georgetown University and the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. They found that, or they projected for 2020 that the total employment in the US economy would grow by 15.6 million, and it would reach a 10.8% employment increase. Like I said, the COVID-19 pandemic might have really impacted this. So if that's something you want to look into now, it's a topic of research. And then changes in demographics, technology, consumer preferences, and other factors were expected to affect the future labor force. Job openings in healthcare, community services, and STEM would grow the fastest among occupational clusters. And then in terms of skills, judgment, decision-making, communications, analysis, and administration would be the most in demand as competencies in the labor market. So the biggest takeaway from these projections is that jobs by educational attainment are almost equally split into thirds. So where it says by educational attainment, 35% of job openings will require at least a bachelor's degree. 30% of the job openings will require some college or an associate's degree. But then 36% of the job openings will not require education beyond high school. So that is a positive if you feel like college might not be an option for you or you want to look at other avenues. You have just as much as a chance as anyone else to get a job that you enjoy, that aligns with your skills, aligns with your values, and have that potential earnings throughout your lifetime, which I thought was pretty positive looking forward. All right, so now let's talk about career choices and options. I'm assuming many of you or all of you are Gen Zers. So Gen Z is on track to be the best educated generation yet. They are less likely to drop out of high school and more likely to be enrolled in college. So among 18 to 21-year-olds who are no longer in high school in 2018, 57% were enrolled in a 2-year or a 4-year college. Gen Zers are also more likely to have a college-educated parent than were the previous generations of young people. In 2019, 44% of Gen Zers ages 7 to 17 were living with a parent who had a bachelor's degree or more education, and that was in comparison to 33% of millennials when they were the same age. So let's take that information in. Gen Zers, you are on track to be the most educated generation in all existence. So I think that's pretty awesome. Now let's talk about your options that you might be looking at right now that you're in high school and you're thinking about what you might want to do beyond that. And when it comes to college, there are skyrocketing college costs. There are increasing environmental awareness, and there's also progress being made in technology, which shape the values of those entering the workforce. So you might be asking yourself, what jobs provide me the most income security? What careers will make a positive impact on the world? What jobs will still be around in the future? Should I go to college? Should I work first? So let's talk about what options you have out there. The education options below can take a few weeks to 4 years to finish. One option is getting licensed for a specific job that you might be interested in. States require knowledge and skills for some jobs. It is against the law to work in these jobs without a license. These workers need to keep going to school to keep up their license. Then there are apprenticeship programs. This is a training plan based on employers' needs. Students learn skills on the job in addition to classroom time. Students are paid to learn on the job. Sometimes they are supported by trade or labor. So there are careers out there where you might not have to go to college for, and you get all of your training and all of the opportunities to learn while on the job and getting paid for it as well. And then you always have the option of doing a certificate course or courses. These are academic programs that are usually completed in less than 2 years. These programs provide specialized training that leads to a specific job. Right now at My Turn, we have connections with Mount Wachusett Community College. If you go on their website, they have many avenues and opportunities for certificate programs. Even if you do have a 4-year degree and you're working within that career, it's always a great idea to go back and maybe do a certificate course. And that's something you can add to your resume, and it helps you keep moving forward and increasing your income over time. Many of you might know about the 2-year associate's degree. This degree normally requires at least 2 years, but less than 4 years of full-time college work. Then there's a bachelor's degree. This degree normally requires at least 4, but not more than 6 years of college work. And then lastly, there are adult basic education programs. They serve students ages 16 and older who are not enrolled in school and who want to improve their basic skills in reading, writing, math, listening, and speaking. They also provide pre-employment training. So this is the type of program that I work for here at My Turn in Fitchburg. So My Turn, as the career specialist, I work with 16 to 24-year-olds, like I said before. We offer services to our participants that cover career exploration. We help students determine their career path and find trainings, either online or in person, that gives them the credentials to move forward. We give workshops relating to the needs of our participants. We assist our students with tuition. We offer occupational skill training. We cover exam fees. I sit one-on-one with students to write resumes, prepare for interviews. I help them with the employment search. We also do a lot of financial support with our students. So we might pay for your transportation to and from your job or to and from school. We make connections with community organizations to give students an opportunity to gain internships. We also help students with college preparation, applications, Accuplacer, FAFSA. And this is because most of our students, they chose not to go to college right away because they might have barriers in the way of them going to college, and they chose to go to work first and then think about transitioning from a part-time job or a full-time job to becoming a full-time student. Some of our students also have been high school dropouts, and we help them with preparing for the high set and registering for the test and covering the test fees. We have support services, case management. We also assist students with getting their IDs and their driver's licenses, and also finding resources within the community. So definitely keep my turn in mind in the near future, or if you have friends or family members who might be interested in these types of services, feel free to add us on Facebook, send us a message, send me an email, or just visit our website. All right, and now back to Gen Z and expectations for the workforce. Here are some facts that I found from bestcolleges.com and the Gen Z Career Guide. Almost 1 out of 3 are feeling either unsure or worried about starting a career. More than half expect to do a job that doesn't exist yet. According to Dell Technologies, they project that 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030 have not even been invented yet. So if you feel like you're not sure of your career, don't worry, because there are a lot more coming your way. 1 out of 3 don't know what type of career they want. 47.8% said their familiarity with tech will help them collaborate more effectively than older generations. 38% would rather be self-employed, compared to 40% who would prefer working for a company. And that goes back to Gen Zers being or having an entrepreneurial mindset. They like being self-employed and making their own money. 64.8% believe technology is changing the job market for the better and creating new opportunities. 44% would rather be unemployed than to do a job they don't love. And that's something that shows the difference between millennials and Gen Zers. Millennials really emphasize loving what they do and quitting a job because they don't love it, as opposed to a Gen Zer who will take a job because of the money and don't really care about whether or not they love it. And lastly, most preferred a career path with more than 1/4 saying they're planning to pursue the STEM field. And then when asked what drives their job selection, grads say the most important factors are contributing to the greater good, having a work-life balance, and third, all about the money, compensation. All right, so what is a game of life without career cards, right? It's smart to stay informed about what your earning potential is and what careers are currently booming and in demand. With this information, you can make better decisions about your career, when it might be the right time to ask for a raise, or even if the time is right to start looking for a new job. So let's start with the category of administrative management careers. Skilled managers and administrators are in demand in an array of industries. A lot of these jobs you could do in any type of industry because they have transferable skills. Education requirements for management jobs vary by the company or organization. A bachelor's degree is typically required, but some job seekers may be able to enter the occupation with a high school diploma. Next, we have advertisement, marketing, communications careers. The number of jobs for people talented in marketing, writing, and editing has accelerated with rapid growth of the internet and social media. If you're skilled in oral or written communications, here's what you can expect to earn within these careers. And now let's get into healthcare careers. The aging of the baby boom generation in the United States means that the demand for talented healthcare professionals has soared, and most definitely with the impact of the pandemic. Healthcare is one of the rare industries that actually grew during the Great Recession. You can go a long way with 2-year degrees, certificates, on-the-job training, and licenses within this field. And lastly, there are careers in technology. For professionals who work with computers and technology, the job requirements vary by position. The highest paying roles in the field require a bachelor's or master's degree. However, some employers hire candidates with only a high school diploma or associate's degree. Technology jobs often emphasize skill-based training over college experience. So people hiring within this career path, they're more focused on what your skills are, and it also gives you the opportunity to be self-taught and still get that job that you want. Okay, so are there any questions so far?
Not questions per se, but just some comments.
Okay.
So one of the things that was brought up in the chat was what is your priority? Would you prefer a job you love or one that compensates? And we had Jocelyn and Natasha that both said that they would prefer to have a job that they love,
Okay.
because money is nothing without happiness, which I thought was a really good point.
Yeah.
And Natasha said she'd like to feel more motivated at work. So I thought those were some interesting comments that were in the chat.
Yes, I definitely agree. Like I said, with the generational cohorts, a lot of it is people making assumptions or just putting you in this square or this box where they assume things about you, but ultimately it comes down to what your values are. And that's one of the polls that I put up. And if you guys would like to go right ahead and answer, what are your values? That definitely connects to what your passion is and where you want to be in life. And maybe wealth and social status or economics might not be, your high priority, and that's totally fine. All right. So
And I was just going to add to the values. It was interesting because it was 22% said kindness and knowledge, 11% said meaningful work, 33% said respect, and that was our highest one.
wow. Okay. So that says a lot about the people in this room, and thank you for that feedback. Definitely informative and great to hear that these are some values that the Gen Zers in this room connect with and put highly in their lives. So now, like the title of this session is Getting That Job and Mastering the Interview. So let's get right into that with talking about preparing for an interview and the STAR method. I did add some articles on the Whova app regarding interview preparation and being prepared for virtual interviews. So now, let's assume that you've done your career search and you've created your resume, you've written down all of your experiences, what your skills are, what your certifications are, and now you're ready for the interview portion of getting that job, right? So the first step is to dissect the job posting. A lot of our students use Indeed.com. You search what it is that you're interested in working in, and then there are job postings. Within those postings, the hiring managers, they write down what it is they're looking for. So the qualifications, Qualifications might be skills-based, but it also might be what they're looking for as terms to education. So you definitely want to read over what it is that the job entails, what the responsibilities are, and see if that matches with your qualifications. Next, you want to practice your elevator speech. One of the first questions that you'll be asked in an interview is, tell me about yourself, right? And they're not looking for you to tell them your whole life story or anything like that. They just want like a 5-minute overall pitch of what it is that you're looking for and how the work that you've done in the past or in your current experiences relate to that job opening that they're offering. Third, you want to be ready to walk through your resume with whoever is interviewing you. Also keep in mind that it might be a group of people interviewing you and not just one person. Always bring a copy of your resume with you and make sure that they have a copy of it as well, because as they start the interview, they're gonna start walking through your resume and asking you questions specific to your experiences. Then you want to be prepared to answer behavioral-based questions. So these questions are based on past experiences where they're expecting you to tell a story or break down action steps that you took to maybe solve a problem in the past, or talk about a situation within maybe your past job or a project that you took on. We'll get more into that within the next slide. And then lastly, you want to determine questions for your interviewer as well. At the very end of the interview, they'll always ask you, all right, now it's your turn. Do you have any questions for us? So personally, what I do is I try to learn as much as I can or research the company or the institution, because I work in higher education. So I try to research the institution and come up with questions, at least 5 questions off the top of my head, so that when it's my turn to ask them, I'm prepared and ready to go. Now, with more and more interviews moving to phone and video in 2021, you need to be ready to make a powerful virtual first impression. First, you want to test your technology beforehand. You know, is your Wi-Fi working? Because you don't want to have glitches. Make sure your mic is working, your camera. You want to wear professional attire. We'll go over this in the next few slides. You want to limit distractions, background noise. A lot of the students that I work with, they're single parents or they have children, and sometimes they'll have the kids jumping on the couches in the background. They might have someone banging on the walls. So you want to most definitely limit distractions. Use professional body language, be authentic, you know, don't sound scripted, because, you know, people can tell when you're just talking like a robot and you've already practiced this and it's not in the moment, right? And lastly, always follow up with whoever interviews you. Send them an email, you know, thank them for the opportunity to speak with them, for meeting with you, and let them know that you're looking forward to hear from them and for them to give you any, for them to let you know if they have questions moving forward or if they need more information from you. Now, before the interview, like I said before, you want to research the company, the institution, and the interviewers. Sometimes you'll see who the hiring manager is. That gives you an opportunity to look at their LinkedIn and see where they went to school or what projects they're passionate about, or what are they about, you know. Look at the websites, read news articles, you know, stay current, know what's happening, because that definitely gives an impression like, okay, this person did research on us, this person knows about us and what we're about. Be early, know how long it will take to get to the interview or the location. And if it's virtual, just you might be put into that waiting room on Zoom, but if you're there before them, then that's also, it gives them a good impression. You might also want to participate in mock interviews. This is good practice for eye contact, having a sincere smile, having a confident tone. So if there's a parent or a teacher or a counselor or someone who you trust with giving you feedback, or friends, definitely have them ask you interview questions. In the practice today, we're going to do behavioral based questions. So that's definitely an opportunity to have a mock interview. And then what you want to bring with you, have copies of your resume, have your references listed. Before you add someone as your reference, make sure that you reach out to them and give them a heads up that, or even ask them for permission to add them as a resume on your resume for a reference, because you don't want them to get a phone call out of the blue and they're not prepared to answer questions about you, and then that gives a bad impression as to who you are. You might have writing samples. Say you want to work in marketing communications in that area, you might want to have writing samples with you, and also a portfolio of your work if it relates to what the job that you're applying for. Now, dressing professionally, there's business casual and then there's professional. Have an interview or professional event coming up. This is how you might want to dress. Definitely, stay true to who you are. If being suited up and having a tie isn't really you, you can modify it and still look professional. If you have any questions right now about dress code, feel free to ask them. But
So
overall, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of the questions that we did just get was, let me open up that screen. What is appropriate body language?
Okay, so appropriate body language, sitting up straight, having your hands like on the table or on your lap, having direct eye contact with the person who's asking you the question and answering while looking at them, giving eye contact to everyone in the room, acknowledging them, being friendly, having a smile on your face. I think those are the major ones. You don't want to slouch or look like you're falling asleep or you're not awake at the moment. Any other questions?
One other question that came up, which I'm not sure if you're going to address this later, so it might just be a, hold on one second question, but how to set up a resume.
Oh, okay. So because this is an interview portion, I didn't add a resume sample, but what you can do is do like a Google search. Also, something I've done from our students is searching sample resumes based on the specific job or career that it is that you're looking for, because they do differ based on the subject matter. So someone who is trying to get into the healthcare career, it's less about your education and more about your licenses, certifications, because they want to know if you're like CPR, AED, if you have the national exam certifications, what type of trainings you've done. So that would highly differ from someone who's looking into business, because with business, they want to know more about your education background. So definitely do some researching online and look for sample resumes. But overall, with a resume, at the very top, it's your name, your contact information. So I would say don't put your address, but definitely put the city and the state that you're from, and then your phone number and a professional email. That's a big one. Don't have your personal fun, like, I don't know, like funnygirl@gmail.com, something like that. Like you want to have a professional email. Also, you list your job experiences in chronological order. So your most recent job would be at the very top. You would put the location and the name of the company, and then you'll write the date that you started working there. So you might not know the specific date, but you'll know the month and the year. And if you're still working there, you would put dash present. If not, if you're no longer there, then you would put the end date of that job that you had. And then under your title and the name of the company would go your job responsibilities, like what it is that you did at that job in bullet points. And then you would also include your education. So if you have a high school diploma, you would put where you went to high school, the year that you graduated. And then if you're currently in a training program, or if you're currently in college, you would state the name and the location and when you started, and if you're still there, and when you graduated, or when is the expected date of your graduation. Also on your resume, you will list maybe your top 5 skills. You would search the specific career, a specific job, and find out what skills it is that they're looking for. And then based on that list, highlight what relates to you and what relates to your past experiences. And those are the skills that you would list as well. And like I said, if you have volunteer experiences, you want to put that on your resume. Types of projects have you done? If you have certificates, if you have a license, and also any awards that you might have won, either in high school or like extracurricular activities. Those are things that you want to put on your resume. Sorry, that was
Awesome.
that was kind of like a
Thank
long
you.
answer. But
yeah, no, that was a great answer. So we have about 3 minutes left.
okay.
So if there's anything else you wanted to add, I mean, they can always email you as well. So that's another thing that I just wanted to point out, that, you know, there's so much more information that is still available from this presentation. So please don't hesitate to reach out and email.
Yes. So yeah, the last part of the presentation was talking about behavioral interview questions. And these, I feel like, are the toughest when you're at an interview, because they will throw them at you back to back to back, maybe like 3 or 4 back-to-back questions about, tell me about a time, tell me a situation, tell me something. And what it is they're looking for is for you to tell them a story that shows how you think and how you go about making decisions at work. So behavioral interviewing is a standard method designed to collect information from a job candidate about relevant past behavioral performance. It is based on the premise that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So interviewers often ask behavioral-based questions in such areas as decision-making, problem-solving, teamwork, time management, taking initiative. They want to know how you communicate with others. They want to know how you adapt to change in the workplace and how flexible you are, and also how you interact or have interacted in the past with your supervisors. And then here's a word cloud that relates to behavioral-based questions. You know, they want to know your psyche, how you go about making decisions. They want to know about your character. They want to know, you know, based on how you answer the questions, it lets them know what your personality is, how you go about your intuition and your mindset, and how you manage your emotions in the workplace. And then lastly, the STAR method. When you go answer a behavioral based question, you want to use the STAR method, and it's an acronym. You follow this to make sure that you're answering the question thoroughly and completely. If they ask you a behavioral based question, you don't want to give them, you know, just a basic answer with no background info. So when you answer this, you want to mention what the specific situation was that occurred for you, what your role or your task was, the action that you took, and what your result was in either solving a problem or overcoming a situation. So here's an example of the STAR method, right? The question is, tell me about a time when you performed well under enormous pressure. So if I were to answer this, I would say, going off of the situation, which is the S in STAR, at my last job, my coworker needed to miss work for some time and the project was left unfinished without a manager. And then the tasks. My supervisor instructed me to take on the project with no leniency on the deadline. I had days to complete a project that originally should have taken several weeks. So they want to know, okay, so what did you do about it, right? I've requested and was granted reduced weekly goals, giving me more time to finish the special project. As far as my weekly goals, I was able to delegate them out with teammates. With my reduced goals, I dedicated more time to the special project. And then they want to know what the end result was. So this allowed me to finish it on time and with complete accuracy. My supervisor appreciated my attitude and drive, and I was given several more projects after that, along with an eventual promotion and a pay raise. So I could have easily given a one-sentence answer to this question, but by using the STAR model, it gave them an outlook on how I manage my time, how I interact with a supervisor who has expectations of me that I know are not realistic, right? And how I use interpersonal skills and leadership skills by including my teammates and being able to depend on them and having trust that they have my back. And then also that I am able to follow through in the very end and come up with the outcomes that was expected of me, right? So does anyone have questions about the STAR method?
Let me check what we have in the chat. So we do, unfortunately, we have a couple of minutes left. Yep. We are actually, we are out of time. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong template. Okay. So there was one question, Lindsay. Lindsay asked, are there any good templates to use for resumes? Lindsay, I would recommend that you use email directly to ask that question. Because we are about to get kicked out of this Zoom meeting because it's got to be used for the next one. So is there a way that you could just put up your email address again? So that
yes. So I think I have it at the, wait.
And I must say I've learned so much that I wish I would have known when I was going through this process. So
most
thank
definitely.
you so much.
So where did I put my, oh, okay, over here. No. Yeah, so here's my email, yrojas@my-turn.org. Yeah, send me an email. I'm more than willing to share some of my resources. If you go on Mass Hire, search Mass Hire on Google, and it brings you to the website that the Employment Center here in Leominster uses, has a whole bunch of resources when it comes to careers, interviews and preparing for them. So yeah, send me an email, add us on Facebook, and we communicate with all of our students through Facebook. So
awesome. So what I also wanted to mention to everybody is that for the next 6 months, you will have access to a recording of this, as well as the chat and the polls and the Q&A that we had in this group. So, you can still log in, check out the questions, and get any sort of information that you're looking for. So thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for putting this all together for us. This was great information, and I hope you all learned a lot.
Of course, it's been a pleasure. I love sharing things that have helped me, have helped other students be successful. like I said, feel free to reach out to me, and always take it upon yourself to learn more, to be proactive about your future, and don't let anybody else determine your choices for you. At the end of the day, it's all about you and what matters to you.
Some great advice. Thank you. Thank you so much.